Welcome to Tech Talk, y'all.
Hello, and welcome to Tech Talk, y'all. I'm Sanjay Park, and
I'm Adam Walker. Sorry, you did. Normally, you do the episode 370, and then mess me up. It threw me off. My God,
let me start that over again.
Good
Hello,
Lord.
And welcome to Tech Talk, y'all. This is episode 370. I'm Sanjay Park.
I'm Walker Adam. How you doing? It's good to be here. What day is it? I don't even know what's happening.
We're recording on an off day a little bit, and that maybe threw me off. And I don't know. There's just a lot of stuff going on, and it's just been confusing and
we have a very confusing show for you today, and a lot of articles that are somewhat confusing, and there's so many things going on that are also we're going to try to announce them and bring no clarity whatsoever. That's my goal.
And Weird and Wacky is really the section of the show that we're going to rename Ocean Talk, y'all, because we've got a couple of ocean.
We're becoming. I wanted to be a marine biologist for a brief moment as a kid. Yeah, I got into like collecting shark teeth and stuff. I think it was like a week. I was in it for a week, and I was like, I'm not intelligent enough for this. So, or I don't have enough focus for this. Maybe I'm not sure, but
you got to watch out for those sharks. They can bite people and stuff.
I like the teeth that fall out of the shark's mouth versus the teeth that are still in the shark's mouth. I try to avoid the active teeth. That's a general rule of my life, actually. Is
the one in current use and production.
Just avoid active teeth in general.
Active teeth. I think that's a good title for the show, by the way. Avoid active teeth.
Speaking of avoiding active teeth, Trump administration says it has no plans. Okay, hold on. This is actually good news out of the administration, which I'm okay. Props. Trump administration says it has no plans to fulfill $400 million quote armored Tesla contract. So apparently there was a contract with Tesla for armored Cybertrucks, and I think it came from the last administration, according to a friend of mine that I was dialoguing with about this. So just to be clear, like I'm not trying to say. So
there was a request for a proposal, and I think Tesla was the only one that pitched for it. So they got it, obviously.
Got it. Okay.
But also, this is dumb. Regardless of Tesla or somebody else getting it, this is dumb.
It's good that the administration's not doing it. That part's good. Right, yes. It's dumb that anyone was ever going to buy $400 million worth of Cybertrucks. Like that is like, can you imagine? Like that feels like a G.I. Joe cartoon. Like that many Cybertrucks driving into like the frontier or something. I don't know, whatever it is.
Right. For 80 miles, and then they all run out of juice, and then you just have to abandon them there. Or you have to get a really long extension cord and plug them all in.
Or they try to tow something and it rips the frame of the truck and totals the truck. Like that's also been known to happen.
And then you have to keep calling the medic for people with their pinched fingers in the truck and stuff. Medic! Medic! I got an ouchie.
He lost another finger to the Cybertruck.
You get a Purple Heart for losing a digit in action. I'm not making fun of anybody that gets a Purple Heart. It's incredible. I appreciate your service to the country. But please just don't get a Purple Heart for a Cybertruck.
Lose a digit.
Somebody that's does not also deserve a Purple Heart or any kind of heart. Anyone can push updates to the Doge.gov website. The tech smart people basically left their entire website open and insecure, and anybody could push, and anybody did push updates to the Doge website. These are the people we're trusting with all of our data.
There's this process.
I'm not concerned at all.
I've set up a few databases, and there's this process when you're setting up a database where it asks you like, what's the database password? And you should put in like this super crazy secure password, and then you should store that somewhere very secure. Like this is like freshman level CS website setup stuff. Like what? They left their database. Did they just
hit enter there and be like, no, don't set a password because you don't want to forget it.
Like, how do you not set a password to a database when you're setting up a website? Like, that is the craziest thing I can possibly imagine. Like,
crazy.
I don't
Crazy.
understand. Who's putting this site up?
And I didn't tag a story on this, but it has been circulating around. Like they've listed how much money they've saved the government. And one of their, I mean, it's supposedly in the billions of dollars, like $50 billion.
Yeah.
One of the items was listed at $8 billion they saved on a contract. And that contract was actually for $8 million.
Yeah.
And so your tech geniuses there also don't know how to do math.
Well, I mean, the problem I have with all of that, like I have a lot of conversations with a friend of mine about these things, and the problem I have with all of that is that there's a lot of claims that are flying around,
right?
But there's not necessarily evidence that supports one way or the other, and so like I've gotten to a point with any government official of any kind. If they're just making a claim, I just by de facto do not believe it at all until I see some kind of actual paper trail proof, something that really shows that this is real. Because who knows? Like who knows?
So not looking at solar eclipses is something you don't believe because there's no paper trail on that.
I mean, okay, I'll believe the scientists on that one, but
so the politicians you don't.
No,
believe.
just the claims,
good move.
Like well, I mean, like when you just say like, oh, we've saved $50 billion, like okay. Show me that that's real. Like walk me through the logic that that's real, and then I'll buy it. Listen, I'm all for stopping some government waste. Like there's a lot of government waste. There's a lot of bloat. I get it. I see it. That's there. I think there's probably better ways to go about it, but whatever. But show me, like prove it. So that's All right. Next up, let's see. Oh, another Doge one. Doge exposes once secret government networks, making cyber espionage easier than ever. The best kind of network that won't get hacked is the network that no one knows about. And
which they all were before a couple of weeks ago. And now because of Doge,
now they know.
A lot of those servers are now visible. There's a website called Shodan that you can use to actually hunt down vulnerabilities. And everybody uses that. And these researchers use that. And now these servers that are used for things that should not be public are now public. And so it just makes it a little bit easier for, adversarial governments to attack us.
Yeah. I don't like.
Good job, tech geniuses.
I don't like that at all. There's so many problems.
Yeah. I've said it on this podcast before. And I don't know that it applies to these servers, but if things don't need to be on the internet, don't connect them to the internet.
Don't connect them.
Like your water control systems for your municipality. Those don't really need to be on the internet. Like there's really no reason that they should be connected. It's not like the water system needs to watch YouTube videos. That's not a thing.
Yeah.
Have a separate
unless it gets bored.
Everybody gets bored. Water pumps sometimes often do get bored and they kind of feel like,
the more the AI running the water pumps probably gets bored.
And that's what I was going to say. Like, that's the scary thing too. Like, we're getting to the point of Skynet and we're all going to die. The one thing that would protect us is if Skynet didn't have access to this stuff. So if you would take some of this stuff off the internet, that might help save us. Because along the way to the next story, white hat hackers expose Iridium satellite security flaws. Users' locations and texts can be intercepted, including DoD employees.
Oh,
yeah. So apparently this has been an issue for a very long time with Iridium, and we haven't talked about Iridium, maybe ever, or in a very long time. So Iridium is the original satellite system, phone system, that sat phone thing.
Yep.
And so most normal humans have never used. I have never used a sat phone from Iridium, but people in the military, government, folks like that, where they're, in random places, they obviously would have a need for things like this, but also apparently all of their communications are just out in the clear. So,
speaking of things that people had a need for, humans AI pen is dead as HP buys startups assets.
Isn't it humane? Humanes?
You're right. Humanes. Thank you. I missed the E. Humanes. HP buys the startup's assets for $116 million. And then next article, just to lump together, all of Humane AI's pens will stop working in 10 days. So
didn't these originally sell for like $700?
Yeah, $700 and a monthly fee. Yeah,
and a monthly fee.
Yeah, and all those cutting edge people that bought them are just SOL. You're totally out of luck. And I'll say this, right? Like the concept of the pen was really great and really well done. But there is just no forgiveness in the tech community for something that works at a subpar level. And it did. It didn't perform. And
especially when they've raised that much money.
That's what I'm saying. Like it's like what Magic Leap, like that was like the biggest deal. Like you cannot put something out there that is, number one, that expensive, right? It's basically a second phone that you're buying yourself and doesn't work that well. Like you just can't do it. And so I love the idea. Love the concept. The execution just wasn't there, and it's gone because of it. So
yeah. Unfortunate. This was basically an acqui-hire kind of deal because I think they raised like 200 and something, or was it more than that? 200 and something million, or
they raised a ton.
It was a lot more than the 116 million that HP paid.
Yeah,
but they acquired basically all of the people and all the intellectual property.
Yep.
I don't think this IP is ever going to see the light of day. It was really about the people.
It'll get folded into something probably down the road. I would think, but
I think some bits and pieces might. But a lot of times these things don't end up going anywhere. Like there's one that I still to this day I miss. I'm going to reminisce a little bit. There was an email client called Bloomba, Bloomba.
Okay.
You don't remember this because this was early 2000.
Okay.
So before high-speed search and things like that actually existed for email. Maybe even before Gmail was a thing. Gmail might have been out at that point, but search was not that great. And this thing was a local email client. And I'm a big fan of local email clients. And it would speedily index your entire inbox and you would get instant search. So I already at that point had over a decade's worth of emails. Now I have probably like 30 years worth of emails saved on my local machine. But this thing was incredible. And I was ready to switch over to it. And then Yahoo bought it.
Oh man.
Shut it down.
It's gone forever.
Never saw the light of day. I don't think the tech ever made it into any other product. Which is why you don't talk about Yahoo Mail as your email service.
Nobody does and has not in a long, long time.
Yeah. Somebody else who hasn't talked in a long, long time, but finally is, Elizabeth Holmes breaks her silence in first interview from prison. "Quote unquote, it's been hell and torture." That's kind of what prison is known for. It's not.
Though I will say the way they describe her prison experience is not what I was expecting. Like she works out every day. Yeah. She's teaching French classes. She sees her kids twice a week and
her kids and her husband twice a week.
Sit in her lap and stuff, which I mean is so they're not behind any glass. So I mean, it's better than my particular view of prison for sure.
Right.
But still it does sound awful. I mean, being separated from your family is terrible.
And she's got, I think it's still 9 years or
9 years. It was an 11 and a half year sentence. It'll be 9 years for good behavior. And she's already served two and a half. So something like that.
Still another 7-ish years.
Got a long way to go. But what was interesting to me is that she's still working on patents in the healthcare startup space. She still plans to continue moving that space. I mean, she strikes me as someone that still believes in what she was doing and just made very poor choices to try to get what she was doing across the finish line, but still believes it's possible and still believes that which, I mean, maybe so. I don't know. But
look, the idea is phenomenal if it would actually work, right? From a single drop of blood to be able to identify all of these issues.
Yeah.
And I think thinking about theoretically, I think at some point we get there.
Right.
I just don't know if the tech is there yet.
Right.
At this point, right?
That's right.
I mean, I think, and we've talked about it on the show before, there are so many things about the human body and anatomy that we're still discovering. There was that organ behind the nose that was discovered just like a couple of years back that, I mean, it's like, how did you not know that before?
All these body scans, there was this line, who knew?
I mean, you guys have been cutting up people for how many centuries at this point? and you missed this whole thing.
Yeah.
So I think there's still a lot to be learned. And
for sure.
Personally, I would appreciate the fact of being able to just get a little finger prick and then testing rather than because like the arm, like I can't watch that.
I don't do well, man. I gotta lay down. I'm like, can I lay down while you do this, please? Can I just chill for a few minutes? It's gonna be okay. Like I need to sit here. I can't get.
I need some cookies and orange juice.
Can I have some cookies?
We haven't done anything yet. Like I still need cookies and orange juice.
I need to pregame. I need to pregame with some cookies.
I need to pregame for my blood draw. But they're like, but you're supposed to fast before this. I don't care.
No, I got a pregame. It's gonna be fine. All right. Next up, bioengineering makes robotic limbs feel natural. So I guess they're working on sort of some kind of feedback for robotic limbs to make them feel more natural to people that need them, which is kind of amazing.
So they're like figuring out like the nerves and being able to actually identify which nerves are supposed to do what things. And make it so that it's natural for a person to, that needs a prosthetic like this to be able to control that limb in the same way that they would have their original limb.
Right.
That's kind of neat. Like talk about things that we didn't know before. Like how long have we been making prosthetic limbs? I mean, in the beginning they were just essentially dummy stumps. Right. There was no robotics in it. Now we've finally gotten to robotics. And now like you see some of these people and it's like, man, those limbs are making you superhuman. Like that's better than the original limbs.
Yeah. They do some cool stuff. Yeah.
So it's pretty amazing what's happening. Talk about something else that's amazing. The 20-year-old PSP, the PlayStation Portable can now connect to WPA2 Wi-Fi networks. So
how?
Yeah, apparently people are still fans of this thing.
Okay.
And they've been hacking it and created a patch for the PlayStation Portable to actually connect. And it was interesting in the article, they said that the year that the PlayStation Portable came out was the same year that WPA2 came out. So it didn't support it because it wasn't mainstream at that point.
Right.
So it still supported the original Wi-Fi, which we all know is very insecure.
Right.
And I know none of our listeners are using WPA, the original, because it is not good. You're using at least WPA2, if not WPA3 now.
Right.
But now, rejoice, your PlayStation Portable can connect to Wi-Fi properly.
There's a whole community of people that hack old game systems. Like my son just got into, like, he's like, Dad, where's our Wii U? And I'm like, our Wii U? Like from like 8 years ago? Like that? He's like, yeah, where's our Wii U?
Do we even have one of those?
Yeah, like what in the world? He's like, yeah, I'm going to hack it and I'm going to do all this stuff with it. And I was like, okay. And so, yeah, sure enough, he got a script online. He hacked the thing, broke it open, and he's been able to add all kinds of stuff to it and whatever else. I'm like, it's pretty neat what he's been able to do to it. And it's like this whole thing. So it's kind of neat. Giving this hardware a whole second life. So, all right, next up, Spotify weighs $6 premium for added features and access to tickets. So, I mean, it's this is what kills me about the subscription models is like, it's a constant, right. Like it's because we live in this system. I was thinking about like, I was listening to something about this the other day where every company has to show revenue growth every quarter. Right. But there comes a point where everybody has a paid Spotify account. Yep. And so now they got to squeeze more juice per customer out of all of us, right? And this is what they're trying to do. And I mean, at what point, just produce something that we can all subscribe to for a reasonable rate and just be okay. Like you're making tons of money. Just be all right.
Right.
But no, you can't do that. We gotta have more add-ons. Whatever.
They're a public company. They got to show continued ongoing revenue growth. And so there you go. That's
only sustainable for a set period of time. Like you can't have growth perpetually forever. That's not a thing. Like that.
Right. We're going to run out of money at some point, and you can't have all the money. People have to spend on other things as well.
I don't remember what were some of the added features for the $6 premium. Do you recall?
I think you get a better audio quality.
Okay.
Don't care about that.
I don't care about
early access to concert tickets was another one.
Also don't care about that.
Don't care about that. I think those were the two that I remember.
Okay.
And both of them I was like, I don't
I'm never going to use that. So I'm good.
I think the number of people that care about these things is probably a very small sliver of the Spotify user base. And it's funny, Spotify really has become the gargantuan in this. I was just having a discussion with one of my kids the other day, and we were talking about how we used to use other music systems. We used to use Pandora. We used to use Amazon Music. And it's like, now it's only Spotify. Like nobody talks about those other ones. There was Tidal too. And I've never used Tidal. But
some people use Apple Music if you're like hardcore into the Apple ecosystem because it ties in more directly.
Okay.
But I do not. I've never used Apple Music. So,
yeah, we've got the family plan on Spotify. It works really well. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
For the amount that I paid, which I still honestly kind of feel like it's a little bit too much.
Yeah.
Just for audio stuff, but let it go.
It is what it is, man.
It's rivaling Netflix, right? And Netflix, I get to see things and hear things. Not just
but I mean,
but
the difference with Netflix and Spotify, right, is that Netflix has a certain segment of television shows that you can watch and is missing a huge percentage of the shows out there. Spotify has everything you can. I've never wanted to listen to something and not been able to find it on Spotify. That's the difference.
There's a couple of artists on there that don't exist for me that used to exist.
A few.
There's one, and I'm going to make a call out to a great Atlanta hip hop group that no longer exists.
Okay.
Y'all So Stupid. That was their name. I think they only had like 2 albums.
Y'all So Stupid. I love that.
But they were great. They had a song, 85 South, right?
Okay. Nice.
Booming 85, zooming to the bass. Booming 80. It was a great song. I love it. They used to have it on Spotify. They no longer have it on Spotify.
Yeah, but
I've got the CD, so I'm good.
Yeah, but let's say Spotify covers 95% of your music needs. Netflix probably covers 50% of your watching needs. So by that math,
maybe even less than that.
You should pay way more for Spotify than you do for Netflix. So I mean, it's just in how you look at it.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. But talking about somebody that is actually lowering prices and making it more affordable because they understand they want more of the market share.
Yeah.
Apple unveils cheaper iPhone 16e, powerful enough to run AI.
Yeah, dude. One camera, but powerful enough to run AI. So, I mean, it's like what $600? So $599, which
doesn't seem that cheap to me either, by the way.
But think about it, right? So their primary phone is typically right at $1,000 or $1,100. Right. Their higher end phones are typically $1,200 to $1,300. So this comes in roughly half. Yeah. But I mean, for people like me, where I've got we're kind of in that Apple ecosystem, it's pretty great because if my kid needs a new phone, it's way easier for me to go drop $600 than it is to drop $1,100.
Yeah.
And then if I want a nicer one because I'm doing a lot of video stuff or whatever, I can go get the nicer one, right? Yep. So I think this is a really helpful thing, and they do this periodically. They've had I want to say this is their third phone that's kind of been in this lower tiered model, and they always come out with it, and then it sort of goes away, and they come out with it, and then it goes away. And it's every 4 years ish, something like that. Maybe it feels like. Yeah. So we've had one of the cheaper phones before. My wife got one, and it worked great. It was a great phone for her for years. And so it's using the same processor as their primary, their main phones. So I mean, I think it's legitimately a great move for them. So
that was the point I was going to make too. I think for parents that want to have phones for their kids and keep them in the same ecosystem. I think this is a smart move. I think an even smarter move would be have yet another one that's even lower than this, at a $250 price point, because then I think for a lot of parents, they would be able to be for whoever in maybe middle school as their first phone, this would make a lot of sense.
Yeah.
I like the fact that it doesn't have, because I think you could strip out some of these things. I honestly think you could strip out AI. Doesn't need to have AI because you don't want your kid using AI for school stuff. And you could probably potentially even strip out the camera.
Oh, for sure.
Because you don't want them taking pictures and stuff like that. Literally just a phone so they can communicate with you, be able to text you and things like that.
There is a good kids phone for that. I'll have to find the name. We use it for my middle school, one of my middle schooler, or my only middle schooler right now.
I think you've recommended it in the past as a tech rep.
Yeah, and it's great. And you can turn off the camera. It has a camera, but I can turn off access to the camera. I have to give them access to each app as it comes up. Give them access. So that's really nice. And he basically it only functions for him basically to call me, call my wife. That's it. That's what it's for.
And for you to probably know where he is based on the phone location, right? Yeah. So I mean, I think these manufacturers, and I think this applies to Samsung as well, right? They keep going higher and higher end. I think if you thought about it and created a phone that was on the low price point,
Yeah.
lower end, to kind of onboard kids
Yeah.
as their first phone.
Get them in that
Once
ecosystem, man.
Exactly.
That's
Once they're
it.
used to that,
That's
they're
it.
probably
Yeah.
going to become lifetime
Yeah,
kind of
that's right.
customers at that point,
That's right.
because they know the ecosystem. They're appreciated. It's weird. Like, to me, if I ever pick up somebody's iPhone, I've gotten iPhones before to take pictures, and I'm like, I don't know how to, I don't know what I'm doing here. I don't know what's happening.
what's going on. Yeah.
Yeah. So anyways.
All right. Next up, before Weird and Wacky, researchers link a gene to the emergence of spoken language. So apparently, if you've ever wanted to know why we started speaking, this is why, I guess.
So and I tag this, and here's the weird part of it. Here's how they figured this out.
Okay.
They implemented this gene into mice and realized that they were vocalizing different based on the addition of this gene. So here's the thing. Are we on the verge of like understanding mice and other animals talking? Because I think like the whole like wanting to exterminate mice in your house changes radically when they're talking back at you. Like,
well,
I don't know.
Not just talking about you. Like, I think if we come to a point, I mean, because we talked about there being AIs trying to be trained to communicate with animals, right? I think if there was a point where you could reasonably say, like, the mouse in your house is actively communicating with other mice, and they're having like certain level of intelligent conversations.
Yeah.
I think at that point it becomes a very different conversation about exterminating those mice. Like for most people, like I think, like once you get that like Stuart Little feel, you know, you're like, I mean, he doesn't have a red race car, but he can talk. So I don't, I think it gets a lot harder to do what you got to do to get my house.
You have an insect or an animal that's going, hey, don't kill me. Don't kill me.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh boy, that changes things a lot.
If they can run and scream danger at the same time that you're coming at them, I feel like that changes the math on that just a little bit,
Yeah.
So anyway.
Time for the Weird and Wacky segment.
Abominable snowman.
He's not an axe murderer. One of the TAs turned out to be a bot.
First up in Weird and Wacky, the story that will not go away.
This is the story that doesn't end. It goes on and on, my friend. So people start. Okay, go ahead.
That guy who threw away, and it's more than this now, $775 million in Bitcoin, now wants to buy the whole garbage dump. And he thinks that there's only about, I think I heard some story about this. There's only about 10,000 tons of garbage that he needs to sift through to find this hard drive. He's narrowed it down to 10,000 tons.
So I have several questions. My first is, is he like getting investors to like buy how does that conversation, what's that PowerPoint deck look like?
Right.
You know, like for that. So like, that's my first one. My second is, okay, so let's assume that it's in there and you're going to sift through 10,000 tons. Even if it's there, and even if you can find it, what's the likelihood that it's not crushed beyond usability? Like,
I think there's two portions of this recovery. One is to buy the garbage dump.
Yeah.
Three parts. Two, you got to actually sift through it.
Yeah.
And then three, you've got to have money for a data recovery service to recover the data that's on that hard drive. Cause, I mean, I think there's so many things, right? Like, there could be liquid on there. It could have been rusting this whole time. It could have been, like on and on of so many things. And if the housing actually did get crushed and the vacuum opened up, then have the platters oxidized to a level that you can't recover the data anymore.
Like my bigger thing is like, not even like I imagine there's this big backhoe and there's this hard drive, and the backhoe just cuts the hard drive right in half. As it's going through. Like that's like, I mean, like seriously, like if it's not already destroyed, just mining it out is likely to destroy it. Like
I think you got to do this by hand. I think you got to get a crew in there, and just pick through it all.
What does that job description look like? like here's the deal.
Bonus has to be huge.
Yeah, like, if you find it, you get a whole Bitcoin. You had 3 Bitcoin out of it. I don't know, whatever. Like
there's 8,000 Bitcoin in there.
I mean, you better give that crew a lot of Bitcoin and join.
Yeah. Yeah. So I imagine and you're right, there has to be investors that he's lined up for this. They've got to be taking a good section of this. But I mean, I think for the dude, it's like, look, even if he only walks away with 10% of it, 70, $80 million, like,
be great. I'd take that.
Probably worth the effort.
In a heartbeat.
Yeah.
Right.
You're actually up next.
Wait,
Yeah,
I'm up next.
I did that first one.
Oh man, sorry. All right, yeah, sorry. All right, a humpback whale briefly swallows kayaker in Chilean Patagonia, and it's all captured on camera.
Did you watch the video?
All you people that are big believers in what was it? It wasn't Noah. Jonah that got swallowed by the whale. Listen, it's happened. It's this guy. It's his new nickname.
Video of it. Did you watch the video?
I saw the video on TikTok before you ever tagged it.
Amazing.
And like he's in the kayak. This whale comes up and he just disappears. And then I don't know, just a few seconds later, he just pops back up to the surface. It's like
amazing and totally unscathed.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Like
totally fine.
I think that's the day you go and buy a lottery ticket because, dude, you got something going for you.
Got
right there,
swallowed by a whale. Like
unbelievable.
Yeah.
And last up in Weird and Wacky, this actually is a callback to the rat story, the mice story that we just talked about. Wild fish can recognize human divers. So after about 10, 12 days, these scientists realized that these fish would follow the diver that would give them food and not the other diver that wasn't giving them food.
What?
And they could recognize them, and they've done some research now. Fish can recognize based on the shape and face of people as well as the sound of them. And this confirms something that apparently fish owners at home have realized as well, is that fish will see, the person that always feeds them, they will kind of realize that person's coming and it's time to eat and will get ready for that food. And so they will react based on the person there, which is not what any of us thought before, that fish are smart enough to recognize things like that. Because it looks like they're just swimming around all the time. They're not really doing much of anything. So
who knew?
Tech wreck, time to get your tech wreck.
Tech wreck, chicky.
Tech wreck. Time to get your tech wreck.
All right, Sanjay, it's tech wreck time. What do you have for us this week?
So I've got a recommendation, a site that I stumbled upon, and I've actually not used it yet, but it's super interesting to me. It's called AutoSlash. So if you've ever gone on a trip and you're looking for a rental car, AutoSlash is a way to compare across a bunch of different sites all at once, a bunch of different rental companies, and figure out where you can get the best deal. Personally, this is kind of a neat thing because I have actually gone and done this manually before, right? I'll go to Budget and I'll go to, Sixth and I'll go to Enterprise and and it's annoying to have to do that manually. So of course somebody has automated the whole process. And so you can just do it once. It's mainly for airports, I believe. But if you're going to go on a trip and you're looking for a rental car and you don't care about which rental car company is doing it, probably don't use one of those cheapy ones. I've had to do that in the past, and there is a big difference between a cheapy one and all the regulars. But this is your way to figure out the best car company to go with.
So a couple things. I think I've used Kayak for rental cars before, so it does a little bit of that. AutoSlash, when you first said AutoSlash, my first thought was not rental cars. It was more destructive related to tires. I'm just saying, I don't know why that's what I thought of, but that's what I immediately thought of. And the last thing is the last car that someone in my family rented, my daughter, we had to rent a car for my daughter because her car was in the shop after having gotten hit by someone else. And we rented it and they gave her this car and it was great. It was actually like a Dodge Challenger, which is kind of cool. And then we noticed, hey, there's a lot of ants crawling around. And the inside of the car was infested with ants. And so we had to take it back pretty quickly to hey, this isn't drivable. There's ants climbing out of the fenders everywhere. It was there's a colony on the inside of the car.
Oh
ants.
My God.
It was wild. So
that is crazy.
We got her something else.
So one thing I just noticed, I pulled up AutoSlash. I noticed that apparently what it will do, and this might actually be the useful thing for anybody that's listening, is you can put in your rental car company and a rental confirmation number and it'll track that rental so that if it goes down in price, you can rebook at the better price.
Oh, that's cool. Okay.
So that by itself might be worth it to try out. So I'm going to have to try that out next time.
Okay. Nice. All right. Good
What
deal.
about you, Adam? What do you have for us this week?
So I'm going to recommend like a little safety device safety item. I actually got one for my daughter when she went to college, and it's kind of useful for a lot of things. So it's a tactical pen, and so at its core, a tactical pen is it's a writing utensil. It's a pen, but it's also made of like typically like an aluminum or like something hard. And you can sort of like, if you're walking along at night and, you need something to kind of, if just in case somebody sneaks up behind you to sort of fight them off, like that's kind of what it's for. The one that I recommend in here, it's got a screwdriver attachment. It's got a flashlight. It's got a bottle opener thing, because when you need a brewski, I guess. It's got a, but I also, it's got a window brake. Like the end point of it is a window brake. So like if you're in the car for some reason, need to break a window out for, hopefully you won't, but it's got that built into it as well. And it's just kind of like, if you're traveling somewhere where like you can't take anything else to defend yourself with, like obviously you can't take a knife or something like that. Like this is a good, it's better than not having anything, I guess is kind of what it's about. So it's kind of neat. It's like $10, throw it in your backpack, like doesn't hurt to have it. So that's kind of,
I mean, once you fight off the attacker, you want to have a drink. So that's why you have to have the bottle opener, right? And you need to sit down and
clearly
open up a soft drink.
Pop open a brewski after that. It's the post-attack brewski that we all really enjoy. I
think that's a smart addition to a product like that. Like you're thinking the whole use cycle through, right? Like the recovery after.
What they're really thinking is, who are we selling this to, and how likely are they to want to drink something that needs a bottle opener? That Venn diagram is very overlapped, very heavily overlapped.
Like, nobody's ever going to actually use this to defend themselves because that probably doesn't happen that often. So let's actually make it useful.
That's right.
Like, buy this instead of a regular bottle opener.
I will say I like it mostly that, but like more
because
more
it has a bottle opener.
No, I like the screwdriver and I like the flashlight sort of built into it along with the pen. Like that's the nice part about it to me. So
it's a nice multi-tool.
Yeah, it's a good multi-tool. Yeah, exactly. So
there you go.
All right, Sanjay, how can our listeners find and connect with you?
They can find me at sanjayparekh.com. What about you, Adam?
Find me on my website, adamjwalker.com. Dun, dun, dun.